First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking each day as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you can never really know what's up next.
Hello. Braden Herrington here for upNXT and postwrestling.com. And I am not alone because I am joined by the youngest in charge, Mr. One, Andrew Thompson. Hello, good sir. How are you?
Braden, it's always a pleasure talking to you, my man. I highly predicted before we started recording that we are going to go 3 for 3 on these podcasts that we do. We did all out 2021, and then we did NXT Halloween Havoc, and then now here we are for NXT No Mercy. I predict this will be another good one. It's always a pleasure doing these shows with you, my guy.
Well, the feeling is mutual. I always love doing a podcast with you, and my goal every time to do a show with you is just to make you pop, just to make you laugh. So that's probably what I'm gonna try to do today, even though there was nothing that bad on this show that we might get into wrestle crap territory. So that's also a plus here today. But Davie Portman, his birthday is in a day or two, so he's got the weekend off. So all the love to DVP out there, and I know he'll be catching up. We're also going to be going live not Tuesday on NXT Tuesday. We're going to be going live on Wednesday around 2 p.m. with an upNXT. So that's some housekeeping and everything. Good. If you're listening and maybe you're new to us, check out Poisonrana.ca for all the links of everything that we do. We do upNXT every week, but we also do a lot of stuff for postwrestling.com, just like Andrew. We actually did a show recently, the John Cena, the champ is here, with the four of us, along with Nate. That was one. You NWA guys, you go Broadway. That had to be like the longest show we ever did, but you know what? It was one of the best shows we've ever done. So I gotta say thanks for joining on that one, brother.
No, that was cool, man. I know myself and Nate were very honored that you guys asked to be on the first ever edition of the John Cena trilogy podcast, and I'm very much looking forward to see how you guys turn that thing out when it's December 2025 when you guys finally put the bow on things.
I was really hoping Randy got that 16th title win so that they could fight one more time, Cena Randy for the title, but that could still happen. But yes, for the next 16, 17 months, we're going to be talking about a lot of John Cena. So, but we had a blast with you, and that was so much fun. So, as always, my good sir. But we're going to talk about some NXT. But before we kind of jump into that, I was wondering if you got to check out some of Bash in Berlin from yesterday. And for us North Americans, I mean, I'm not sure if there's a time difference between us. Is there? I'm in Toronto, and it's 10:06 now, and wrestling just ended, which is great. But you know what's even better, Andrew, is watching wrestling at 1 p.m. on a Sunday or a Saturday even. 1 p.m. wrestling is fantastic. How do we change things to just make it always like that? I know once it goes up against like football, I guess that's probably when that wouldn't happen. But did you catch Bash in Berlin at 1 p.m. on Saturday?
Yeah, I most definitely did, man. It was covered on the post site. I'm really loving the international shows, man. The international pay-per-views, POEs. I love when AEW does it. I love when WWE does it. Like, man, I just want both of them to just start just running all their pay-per-views overseas, and just so it can start at 1 p.m. and then we wrap this thing up 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time. I love it. It's probably my favorite thing about like the both companies sort of venturing off and doing all these different things, which is cool. So for the exception of like, I think that I remember that one time in 2018 when WWE decided to run Australia, and that shit was like 3 a.m. here. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely did watch Bash in Berlin. I thought it was a solid show. I do enjoy the shorter match cards. Like, I don't think every pay-per-view needs to be 11-9 matches. Like, I think it also helps when you can save some of that stuff for television instead of just blowing everything off on the pay-per-view. Like, some of that stuff does need to be saved. When I'm thinking about probably my favorite match of the night, I'd probably have to say it was a toss-up between Cody and KO and Punk and McIntyre. I did enjoy Gunther and Randy Orton as well. Like I think that was like that. It's especially like the crowd is always gonna play like a major factor in how a lot of people view certain matches. But I thought the pace that I was expecting for Orton and McIntyre, Orton and Gunther, I wasn't expecting it to be like some, some damn flip classic or whatever like that, or whatever you want to describe. High pace match. Let me say that. I think that's the better term. High pace. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting similar to what they did at King of the Ring, and they delivered that. And then I think the atmosphere of the audience in Berlin like only amped that up even more. So I thought it was an overall solid show. I give it like a B plus, A minus. I enjoyed it for the most part, and yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show, and I think WWE have been super hot right now. But I'm still feeling like WrestleMania fatigue. I feel like I'm not getting some of the matches necessarily delivering. I thought SummerSlam Punk and Drew was kind of boring, and then this time around you got the four corners, which I didn't know it was going to be the four corners until it like just was happening, and I was like, oh no, why are they doing this? So I thought that brought it down. Like these guys hate each other. This guy wants to murder him. So what am I going to do? I'm going to touch all the corners of the ring. It's like it's kind of like a little backwards. I think like if you just did the traditional strap match, it would have been so much more impactful. And I'm not saying Punk is washed, but so far his WWE run, I think for me personally, is a little like lackluster than I'm just comparing, I guess, to his AEW initial run, which was like really good. So I'm just like a little bored. And then, but on the flip side, like Randy and Gunther was pretty good. I don't think it got to maybe levels another era Randy maybe versus Gunther would have been, but I thought it was better than the King of the Ring match. And oddly enough, which I'm usually in for the in-ring matches is what my bread and butter is, but I really liked the whole Rhea Ripley finally getting her hands on Dominic, because that Uber Arena in Berlin went absolutely crazy for some of the stuff in that match. So that was really cool. And again, I didn't hate the show by any means, but I still didn't get enough like some of the wrestling maybe didn't hit necessarily for me. But maybe I'm spoiled because last week was all in, and like the in-ring was really stellar. So maybe it's just like too soon or recent, but I just really like watching wrestling during the afternoon compared to kind of takes over your whole night of watching. But I feel for the Brits and everyone overseas who usually have to watch wrestling at like weird times. So we totally understand, but yeah. So I liked some of that stuff. I'm trying to think of what else. We went to Berlin last year and we found this great like Jamaican beach bar in Berlin, which was nuts. And oddly enough, I saw CM Punk posting that he was at it the other day. And I'm like, Randy must have dragged you there, because I don't know why Punk would be there for sure. But it was cool seeing all the stars like going into all these different places. But that was Saturday. And we all know the real graps is when Shawn Michaels puts it together the next day. We're back to the days of WWE PLEs versus the NXT takeovers. Now it's just the NXT PLEs as well. But it's like after SummerSlam, what was it? SummerSlam weekend, and then Money in the Bank, and then we had Heatwave. Yeah, and then people were like, "Oh, which one's better?" and all that stuff. So, pretty crazy that there's just so much wrestling. So much wrestling.
I remember those days when it was that 2018, 2019 period when the takeovers was constantly outshining the main roster stuff on a monthly basis or whenever the pairings happen. And I do feel like these you want to know what I'm sort of impressed by with these NXT shows. Like, I mean, you definitely have some established talent on this show, but I'm talking about specifically like the Jaida Parkers and like the Kelani Jordans of the world. Like I'm very impressed at how comfortable they're starting to look in these arena settings. Like I'm pretty sure at some point you get fairly accustomed to competing and performing in front of the regular normal NXT audience down in Florida, and that becomes like you probably get a grip on things pretty easily. But I think my real litmus test is seeing how they perform in front of these arena shows. And I got a lot of high praise for Jaida Parker in terms of how confident she looked, and she didn't seem startled or rattled. Like I know she's been on a POE before. Like I think she was on like a 6-person tag against the Angelo family, if I'm not mistaken.
And then she's in the ladder match too.
Oh yeah, and in the ladder match. But I mean, but yeah, that too. But I know that venue was kind of, you know, that the UFC Apex.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm talking about like in terms of like a big field arena. Like I was curious to see how she was gonna seem perform, bro. She looked very, very confident and performed like it, and I was very impressed. I think it's those type of performances from these newer talents and the athletes that transition into wrestling that I think I'm very impressed by, to see how they transition and, you know, set themselves up for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it must be such a big deal for some of these people where you're wrestling, you're still so new to it, and you're wrestling in front of people every week. That's like, you know, what, 100 people? I don't even know how many fit. I've never been to the PC, but I've been to Full Sail, and that wasn't a lot of people all the time. So like to finally do it in an arena must be like pretty nerve-wracking. Imagine in any art or any sport or anything where it's like, whoa, okay, wait, there's a lot of people here to watch this, which, yeah, you must get the butterflies in their stomachs for sure when it's like, okay, this is it. We're at the dance now, and it's great to see some of these people shine. And I've been loving NXT right now. You know, Andrew, we haven't really talked. We haven't had you on in a while, but like before we went live right now, we were just discussing briefly, like NXT's had a bit of a roller coaster, you know, and I who would know better than you know, me, because exactly. I do this show for the last, I don't know how many damn years, but it's like we was in the trenches, bro. Yeah. You weren't there. Yeah. I mean, no, I'm not talking to you, but I mean like everyone, like, yo, y'all left. You left. And it was TNA to bring you back. Come on. We was there.
I was just telling you, right, like you said, like right before we started recording, like you and Dave, man, I was in the trenches with NXT. Like when I remember when that 2.0 that period started, man, NXT was getting cooked on a weekly basis.
We were still there. All the colors, all the paint, bro.
Y'all were still there on a weekly basis, covering weddings, covering all.
Oh man, my memory tries to just block out the like 2.0 era, but oh man, one day we'll look on it with we'll look back with rose tinted glasses, like, oh, it was so good. No, that's.
And then now NXT is about to move over to the CW first show, Chicago second show, St. Louis, both arena shows. I think that's a great move by them to start it off like that. I feel like starting that shit off at the PC would have been like, that I don't think that would be a good look. But to start it off, you know, of course you got, you know, the Ordens and the Punks to rely on. But I mean, honestly, bro, like even looking at when they was at the Ball Arena tonight, like it wasn't no super big names, like in terms of like in comparison to those people I just named, like, and they looked like they had about what 12,000, 13,000, maybe more than that.
What, tonight?
Yeah.
I think it was. I'm trying to look. I had WrestleTix up here. Okay. Shout out at WrestleTix, who've posted tickets distributed 6,995.
Oh, they had 6,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, still more than a Dynamite, but like,
come on, man. We ain't gotta take shots, man. Come on, man. Like the NXT upNXT guys, man. Can't take shots,
I always look at the WrestleTix because lately, like the AEW shows haven't been doing like that much, and to see NXT, like that's still not a sellout compared. I was at Heatwave, and comparing Heatwave to Money in the Bank, there was a lot of tickets like still left, but it's the people who want to be there, like you'll cheer and you'll get into it. I'd rather a crowd of 6,000, 7,000 or a crowd of 2,000 be like hype and wanting to be there, wanting to watch the wrestling than like, you know, 15,000 people who got the tickets for free and don't really care about anything, or like Corpus Christi or wherever, like there's no reaction ever. Whereas like the crowd tonight, I thought were pretty good. The crowd in Berlin were really good. Like I'm sick and tired of, I think it's the issue with the crowds. Clearly there's not as much interest for certain shows like Dynamite lately, but when you go, like, be loud, be supportive, you know? I'm not saying go scream and yell profanity, but like,
I will say, as far as like AEW, it was sort of like a weird turnaround this week, like coming from that crowd and at All In, who was just like that was like one of the best audiences Like they was going crazy for everything. Everything felt special. Most of the stuff
Mhm.
felt special. And then to go back to Champaign, Illinois, where that crowd was just like sitting on their ass the whole time.
Yeah.
Like they would, like
Yeah.
it's just like for those when you have such a exciting show, such a great show, and then to come back and follow it up with, and I don't think it was the performance's fault at all. I think it was the crowd. They just sucked. So like, I mean, you know, I think it just depends on like the locations you go to in terms of like their specific wrestling fandom. And you know, this crowd here in Denver was hyped up. You know, you said 6,000 people in attendance. So that's
Yeah, around 7,000.
and
Yeah.
7,000. I know the Ball Arena. That's like that's where the Nuggets play. That's like a 21,000 seater. I mean, but I mean, like you said, they sounded lively tonight. Like I couldn't, like I initially when I said I thought it was probably like 12,000, 13,000, just based how from what I was hearing from the audience. So yeah, it definitely sounded louder than the amount of people that were in there, though, for sure.
Well, it was way earlier for them, right? Like for us, it's 10:19, it's 8:19 there. So that means their show started like
4:30
in the afternoon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Plus all that altitude, Denver, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
They were a lot quieter at first. It took them a while to wake up before the gummies kicked in and stuff. I'm sure it was a nice smoky day in Denver. But yeah, let's dive into this. Let's talk about some No Mercy. Mo Mercy, Mo Problems. Diggity dog. They didn't do the retro intro like they did. What was it, last year, 2 years ago? That N64. I know. Were you even born yet when the N64 was out? I think you missed that whole era. Damn.
I mean, I played that. I remember my cousin had it. I was very young.
You have played No Mercy.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
I have played No Mercy. Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't talk. I'm in the camp that I think Here Comes the Pain is the superior wrestling game, but
love that game.
It is. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Here Comes the Pain is better than No Mercy. But diggity dog. We start off here in Denver, Colorado, and on the pre-show they had a bit of a sit down with Ethan Page and Vic Joseph where he was talking. For some reason they were sitting on the side of the highway. It looked like with the camera angle there, but basically Ethan kind of bullying Vic and saying there's no way he's losing his title tonight. And we kick things off, and Vic and Booker start the show by telling us that this is the first time WWE has done a PLE over 20 years since they've been here. And like, that's insane. So the crowd were really hyped at this, and Booker gets in his face and asks everybody, can you dig that sucker, as we start the show? But getting the crowd hype. Booker, we should just get out of the way. Booker was on one tonight because he always is. But you know what? I love it, actually. So it's part of NXT now. It's engraved that
I've like thoroughly grown to enjoy Booker T's commentary. Like I remember there were points, not even just NXT. I remember when he was on Raw for a little while. Like I was kind of like, all right, Book, man, you know what I'm saying? But like I think he's added a lot. I feel like NXT, that's like the perfect fit for Booker T's style of commentary. Like he can be, he does have like very good analysis at times, but like he's like very like hype, and you know what I'm saying? Like as like the Booker's, like you could tell he has his ear to the ground in terms of like with things that may tap into the attention of like some of the youth watching the show and things like that. Like he kind of plays into that a lot, and I've definitely grown to enjoy Booker's commentary. Like I think him at first I thought that at some point they should probably move Big Joseph up to the main roster, but I feel like him and Book, like that should just be like the permanent NXT commentary team going forward. For forever.
I've really grown. They've grown on me so much. Like both of them together, they definitely play off each other, and they make me laugh when Vic says certain things to him, and they get it like it's almost like they're playing with each other. And I've definitely like changed so much. Booker T, he's also like fun to argue or disagree with, even like certain things he says. It's like, oh, okay, but like again, that's just become part of the show. So definitely
one of my favorite low key things was Book starting off being a hater of Joe Hendry, and then slowly you could tell like week by week they started sort of telling the minor story of Booker becoming Joe Hendry's like biggest fan.
You know why?
Because
Joe did a reality of wrestling show, so now Booker's like, yeah. You're okay at that, Joe Hendry. You think I'm joking? That's definitely a thing on NXT. He'll hate on someone randomly, and then you'll see them announced for his shows, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, they're the best. They're the best. I told you they're the best. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Just young NXT wrestlers do a reality of wrestling booking, and Booker T will like get you so over on commentary.
You know what's so funny? When you said that, I had started thinking about it. I remember when Javier Bernal got announced for like one of his reality wrestling shows, and he was on NXT like that following week. And Booker was like, "He's the man, like
the man, the man." I just met him and learned who he is, but he's the man, and he did my reality wrestling. I'm not shading reality. That's just good marketing, and I'm not mad at Booker T at all. I'm saying I see what you're doing. I notice it. Don't think you're so slick, but I do love me some Booker too. So I can't even hate. But yeah. Shout out John Cena with a super chat who says, shout out to Brady and the YIC, the Brick. I think he's trying to give us a ship name there. And then says, happy birthday, Davie. And then brings up that the last pay-per-view from Denver was Vengeance 2003. Wow.
Oh, you want to know what? That's so funny. And what's up? Shout out to my man Cena. Collision Course. Every Saturday, him and Kate from Montreal. But you want to know what's funny about that? Vengeance 2003, we talked about that heavily when we did the John Cena podcast. Remember? Because John Cena fought Undertaker on that show. So we did a little deep dive, a little mini deep dive.
When he pisses in the graveyard.
Yep, that exact pay-per-view. Yep.
Yeah, excellent. And then also Caleb in the chat says, happy birthday, Davie, but happy to see the Yick holding it down. And I could be wrong, but Caleb came to our Bash in Berlin watch party yesterday, and I told him that I'd be doing this show, and I knew he was a real listener when he went, "Oh shit, Andrew's holding it down with you." Oh, I got to tune into that. So I knew I knew he was a real one when he threw that at me. So shout out. I
appreciate that, Caleb. Shout out to Caleb, man.
We go back to Denver for No Mercy here, and we're starting things off with one of many championship matches, the NXT Tag Team Championships on the line. The champions Chase U, but we call this kind of Chase U Red or Chase U Black or Chase U Wolfpack, because this is Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, not Duke Hudson, if you've been following the story. But they're taking on the former champs of Axiom and Nathan Frazer, who lost the titles just a few weeks ago and said, you know what, lads, we just really want our friendly rematch. And that's kind of the story going into this. But the last few matches these teams have been pretty damn good. And I'd say stole the show at Heatwave.
Yeah.
That was so these are my two front runners for tag team of the year, like in any of wrestling right now, because tag team wrestling kind of been on a weird lull, I'd say, this year. But these two teams have just been very impressive, specifically Axiom and Frazer, but so good.
I think Axiom and Frazer, Nathan Frazer, like those two are like when I'm looking at a card or a roster in terms of, I'm specifically this NXT roster, and I'm thinking about like who would I want to start off pay-per-view or PLE.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are like the first people I'm looking at, because I always think that when you start off a show with either a highly emotionally charged match or just two people that just they fly around the ring, that like I feel like those are some of the best things to kick off a show. And I think you couldn't have chose two better people to start it off with Axiom and Frazer going up against Chase Universe.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. Like anytime you start a show with hot, fast-paced wrestling, like that's just what gets the crowd even more into it. And these two are so fast. And Andre Chase is no slouch either. This guy knows how to do a lot of wrestling. He may be wearing a sweater, but he's the illest motherfucker to wear a sweater and wrestle in I don't know how many years.
You want to know what's so crazy when I'm starting to notice about Andre Chase? Like whenever he's on these specials, like he delivers like tenfold. Like it's consistent. Like if you literally go back and watch his matches from all the POEs that he's been on, he always delivers, bro. Like I mean, Andre Chase, I think Andre Chase been wrestling for like 15 some years. I know he used to be like
Harlem
Bravado. Yeah, he was like, I know he did some stuff like in Evolve. He was with Ring of Honor and shit like that. Like, but yeah, shout out to Andre Chase, man.
Yeah, he's like the ace up the sleeve. He's been great. And again, this dude's in a sweater. This guy's like looks ridiculous, but then he wrestles, and I'm like, this guy's fantastic, and he's always stealing the show. So I was a little mad because Denver seemed like they were booing Chase U.
They were a little bit,
but okay, but hold on. Were they booing Chase U or were they booing Ridge?
That's the
storyline.
That's a fair argument or a fair point to make. But I think overall they were kind of I think it more so had to do with them enjoying Axiom and Nathan Frazer. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, but I'm like, hey, Denver, you're booing Chase U. Are you high? Come on. What do you stop it? You can't boo this guy. They'll give you a reason to boo a little bit later, but the crowd always turns around and supports Chase U, as they definitely did in this match. But this thing starts off pretty quickly. We have Chase wrestling, like I said, a very nice black sweater, different, changed up from his red sweater because this is Chase U Wolfpack. But Ridge tags in and hits this very impressive, like lifting butterfly suplex onto Frazer. However, Axiom and Frazer come back in with all these double teams. There's a half and half suplex super kick thing onto Chase. There was like a standing star. There's Booker T going off about, I guess Chase U hasn't done a reality of wrestling booking because he was so angry at all of them. He was like, oh, look at all these cheerleaders and like going off, but it was so funny. Ridge hits this trap belly to belly for a near fall. And then this crazy Ridge does this like lift up into like a flipping DDT or something. This could be a finisher really, but it was only a 2 counts. Chase is back in, and this is when Booker calls Andre Chase president, and Vic has to remind him that no, he's not a president. And then Vic is kind of like, wait, what is he actually? Is a professor, or it's his university? I don't know. Never mind. And then they continue on, which is also very funny. But this is when Chase starts lighting. I think it's Frazer here. He hits like he counters Axiom Spanish Fly and hits his own, and then hits a Tiger Bomb for like a 2 count. Ridge is in. They hit a Doomsday Device for a near fall, and then there's like super kicks. Ridge gets kicked, then accidentally break up the pin. There's a golden ratio combo, but it's broken up as well. And then there's a golden ratio to Frazer by accident, allowing Chase and Ridge to hit a lung blower bomb combo, but Axiom still kicks out of that. And then it's eventually them sending Ridge out of the ring and hitting the Phoenix Splash onto Andre Chase for the 1-2-3. And we have new NXT Tag Team Champions as Chase U lose in 13 minutes and 33 seconds.
So like initially when this match got announced, I remember I was thinking, oh, they probably gonna try to turn Duke Hudson. Like, and I didn't really know how. I was like when I was thinking about that, like I didn't know, I was unsure about how that was going to work out in terms of like how that would fare for Duke. But I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about the aftermath after. Oh, yeah. I thought this was a really solid match. I'm genuinely enjoying this duo of Axiom and Nathan Frazer. Like one of the things that I love in pro wrestling is like when you have I'm not always a fan of it when you just pair random people together and just hope it works. But this is like one of those cases. It's kind of like with with Bowens and Caster a little bit, like how there was just 2 random people that got put together and then they just ended up becoming like a that now what you know them for is what they do now as a team. Like this is kind of how it is with Axiom and Nathan Frazer when you just put the former A-Kid and Frazer together, and like now they're like this formidable team, and like now you know them as this duo opposed to the singular work that they did. So I'm enjoying them, man. I think they are great for these opening matches. I think they're great for like hyping up the crowd. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I know they got the CW debut on October 1st. Like I'm saving that Rascals rematch for that. Yeah. Like I know they doing the triple threat tag match. Like I'm having Gallus win that. They could pin Hank and Tank and then do the match on September 10th. Save that Rascals match, Axiom and Frazer, for the CW debut. Those motherfuckers are going to burn that place down. Yeah, I would have that open the show. So, well, they probably won't have Punk open the show, whatever you do with it. But yeah, man, now Frazer and Axiom, like that's I can't. I'm honestly, I know they got plenty ways to go in NXT in terms of like stuff they can do and programs they can have. But like, I'm genuinely excited for the one day that they get on the main roster. Like, I think they're gonna do some cool things, man. They're gonna be able to spice up that tag division a little bit more.
Absolutely. No, like again, this was if not maybe my favorite match on the show. I'm not really quite sure actually, but I don't think it got to levels of the Heat Wave match, which was still like that one was still something special in my heart. But this one was still like really great. And Andre Chase, Ridge, they were pulling out some stuff that was pretty impressive. And I agree. Like Fraxium is my tag team right now Like they're incredible. And like the guy, I'm still not over that the guy looks like a Power Ranger, but I am over it because they're just so damn impressive in the ring, and they're two of the best going. And when they're on the card, you know they're gonna go out there and put it on. So this was such a great hot opener, and sad because Andre Chase got pinned, which leads us to what happens next. As Andre Chase is in the ring, Chase U all get in the ring and console him. They're all hugging. When they go to leave, we see Duke and Riley look at each other like, and they go to leave the ring when Ridge attacks them from behind. He attacks Andre Chase. He throws Duke upside down into a barricade. He throws Riley away too. And then he takes Chase up onto the commentary desk and hits his DDT onto this right in front of Thea Hale, who's crying as he looks over at her and just has no remorse, as then Andre Chase is then stretchered out of this arena. And I told you already how I'm not feeling the vibes from Denver. They start chanting, "Do it one more time," to this evil bastard. These heartless people in Denver. Here I am trying to hold back tears as my man Andre Chase was just turned on by Ridge as he's stretchered out, and Denver is like, "Do it again." Wow, what a moment. Violent scenes here as Ridge has broken Chase U's trust, hearts, and all of our hearts here. And then minutes later, Duke Hudson would tweet, "I was right." I hate to say it, but I was right all along. So, oh boy, call me crazy, but I'm in with the Chase U storyline, and this was devastating.
Yeah, the crowd doing the one more time chant was hilarious. That's why I just think they weren't big fans of Chase U out in Denver. Like that's why they were booing him. They wanted to see the whole thing.
So mean.
So they wanted to see the whole thing self-destruct. But like the Ridge Holland turn, I mean, it makes sense storyline. Like, it kind of reminded me of like when Kevin Owens joined the New Day for like they was like 3 weeks, and then he finally turned on Kofi to get a title match like that. That's kind of like you put the dude who didn't fit, and then you make him fit in the group, and then he ended up turning, and then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't believe him anyway." That whole thing. Like my thing with Ridge Holland is I don't think I find him that interesting, and I noticed this is going to be like his second go around or third go around, and like just a solid singles run. And I think like as the weeks were going on, I was getting used to him in Chase U, and I was like, okay, he's like finding a personality, and he's getting interesting.
He's got them a new classroom.
He's like he got him a new classroom. Like it seemed like Rich was kind of, I said Ridge. It seemed like Ridge was like really sort of finding himself and finding a different character that people could sort of sink their teeth into. And I don't know if going back to being generic heel version B is necessarily going to be the best thing for him, because I'm like, okay, this is going to be hot for the time being, or it'll be people will be engaged for the time being in terms, because Andre Chase has a little nice following there at the PC, so I think that people will be invested in it, and they'll give Ridge the heat that he needs. But I'm like, long term, like I think it'll just fade out, and then he'll just be like another guy on the roster.
Yeah, it's like I feel a few ways, because it's like, the Duke Hudson storyline of Chase U has been ongoing for so long, and they kept giving us little like red herrings that like Duke was going to turn, and then instead they added Riley, and then they had Riley be like, "Oh, I'm not sure if he's really in Chase U," and then Ridge joins, and they're doing the same thing, and then now finally he's the one to like turn on them. Whereas like I think the big matchup for whether it's like, maybe not necessarily this week or next week, but maybe Chicago, maybe St. Louis, is Duke versus Ridge is like the big match. And then you go to Andre Chase coming back. You're kind of right, because before this, Ridge was in that stupid, awful, "Oh, I just hurt people and I shouldn't do this anymore." And dumb, I hate that. So it was one of my least favorites. And now in a weird way, they've tied that into this, because maybe he, the storyline is I injured him. I ended his career, just like how I do this time. I did it on purpose, or, shit like that. But I think there's some juice in this, because part of me, maybe I'm just a sicko, is like, but shouldn't the big turn still been Duke? Like this whole time, it's been such a long end game. But now I'm at the point where Duke should just never
Nah,
Like
bro,
he's
he's too woven into the fabric of
yeah.
Chase U now. Like it's just
Yeah.
like it. I think if they were gonna do that, they should have did it by now. But like I feel like at this point, it'd kind of just be like like a random thing just to get a reaction from the audience. And like,
Yeah.
I think that what they did was the way to go. But my whole thing is like the long term of this. Like, this is good for Ridge for now.
Yeah.
But like 3 months
After
from
that.
now, who
He's
gives
got
a shit?
Yeah, I mean, he's got Pete, who was his tag team partner.
Yeah, it could.
And now he's in NXT too. So that's
how about it? You could go back to that. You could go back to that. That's definitely an option. I mean, if you look into send something in terms of send them to the main roster, you can always send them back with Pete and they can get something done with Sheamus, and then you'll have a story there with Tyler Bate when he comes back. And you know, there are ways to go. But I mean, as far as like a singles heel run for Ridge, like I just don't like it doesn't personally interest me after already having seen him try to do this. It's like, you know.
Well, I thought this was a great opener, and the turn was really good. The biggest heels of the night was Denver chanting "one more time" as it just cuts to black, as we later see like Andre gets loaded into the hospital and stuff. But like, oh man, just sad views here.
Chase University in debt, man. How they gonna cover that? Well, they were in debt. How they gonna cover that hospital bill?
Yeah, I think the big match for me is like, okay, obviously Andre can come back and wrestle Ridge, but Duke versus Ridge seems like the next big grudge kind of feud that will play out.
I'm curious to see if they try to save that for next month. Like,
exactly.
I mean, it's only 3 weeks. That's not like a long time.
I think you could save it for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
but the story, the real story though, what about Thea? Because like his attachment to them seemed, Thea, you remind me of my daughter for whatever reasons. It's like maybe because she was like screaming in terror, maybe he gets her to leave. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that is an interesting dynamic, because I remember Thea was like the one that was like advocating for Ridge, like above anyone else. Like she was like very much on his side. So I think it'd cause like some friction between
NXT's got me in this silly storyline. I'm all in for Chase U. They had a bad night tonight, but they're gonna bounce back like they always do.
This was a good match though. Really did.
Yeah, it was. Match. Yeah, it may have been my favorite on the show. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to think about that at the end of the show. We got a commercial for Halloween Havoc, which is looking good. The next PLE from WWE NXT, and this one is also on a Sunday night, October 27th, from Hershey, Pennsylvania. So maybe we'll get at the end of the show maybe the direction we're going for that PLE. But I always like the spooky commercials for Halloween, and now it's a PLE.
Yeah, I'm actually glad they're doing a pay-per-view outside of Orlando. Like I'm glad that they're doing that for Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc always feels like a special, especially with the name value that it has and the attachments that it has. So I think
it's always fun.
You talked about Ridge. I think you go. I mean, again, it's only like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
I think you can go Ridge, Andre, Chase. I think you can do
Stretcher match.
Ambulance match. There you go.
Book it, Sean. We throughout I'm watching. I'm in Canada. I'm using the network, and we get the commercials for the PLEs here. But they like to replay a lot of the NXT vignettes that they play. So like the Pete Dunne promo talking about getting beat up on a bus. Play it at this point. But we see Jaida Parker showing up earlier today, and Roxanne showing up as we get a recap of Ridge, and the commentators like, we'll give you updates on poor Andre as we can. But we go into a video package for our next match, a grudge match, if you will, WWE versus TNA. It's a recap of Wes Lee and Zachary Wentz as these two former friends, brothers, going one-on-one against each other here. And once they were known as MSK. Do you know what MSK stood for, Andrew?
I did not. I still don't.
Mako Satamora's kids.
That you being serious right now? You trying to be funny?
I don't know. Am I? You don't know, do you? You'll never know. You'll never know. I could be lying, but I also could not be. Great video here showcasing the whole like story of the promos and stuff. I haven't been completely sold on the Wes heel turn because I think he just genuinely is one of their strongest baby faces. So I'm still head scratching at some of the choices, but either way, getting this match, I knew that it would be something special for sure.
There's no meaning. It's just MSK. It's just MSK. I looked it up and Wes and Zach even answered the question. They said it's just who we are, is what we stand for. Like it doesn't have any like. They say they wouldn't give it away what the letters actually mean. So
that's what they want you to think.
Make us settle more as kids.
But yeah, man,
like just before we get into like the actual content of the match, like this past what was it? Friday, TNA had their emergence pay-per-view and Zach won the X Division Championship in the Ultimate X match. Like at first, so when that happened, I was like, why would they have Speedball Mike Bailey in Mustafa Ali's title reign just to drop it at the a month later? Like I was very confused about that booking, especially considering like the big moment of Bailey winning it in Montreal and stuff like that. I was like, well, like what are we doing? Because especially with Zach winning, I was like, oh, they probably he's probably gonna lose the West. Like that was my initial thinking. I was like, wow, like is this just about getting a belt on the show? And I was very surprised by this end result.
I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I saw the results obviously, and seeing Zachary with the the TNA X Division title was pretty cool. Good for him. That's awesome. In the Ultimate X match, which Riley from Chase U was also in as well. So there has been some crossover. It seems like we get the big TNA stars and we send them Riley from Chase U and like.
Did you get to see the any other results from the tapings? I mean, I'm not gonna say the matches they were in, but if anybody doesn't want to get spoiled, this is the point where you pause the show.
Well, wait, hold on. Without spoiling, can you're gonna tell us some of the stars that do show up?
No, some of the stars, some of the NXT talents that were at the recent TNA tapings, and that just happened yesterday, I think.
Okay.
But, Carmen Petrovic was there, and
nice.
They sent over Ariana Grace as well. So those are two of the people that
Toronto representation for TNA. No, it's cool that Zachary Wentz won this title, but I think we're going with Speedball as their main guy. Like he's probably going to go for
probably
the world title and stuff. He's one of their most talented dudes that they got. They got a lot of hot Canadian stars going on in TNA right now, and I think he's one of their good ones. But it's cool that Zach won the X Division title, and here he is on a WWE NXT PLE with the X Division title. So that's pretty crazy.
The schedule is crazy. You had the emergent show, had the taping, TNA tapings, and then now at NXT No Mercy. Crazy schedule.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a packed weekend. The hustle. We see Zach Wentz make his entrance, like I said, with the X Division Championship on a WWE show. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen that before. So that's pretty cool. Do love his theme song here. Then we get Wes coming out, who's acting all heelish and like a big old meanie. Vic Joseph mentions that these two first tag teamed at a Rockstar Pro 2015 in December 12th is when they. That's like a long time ago, and that's when they first teamed together, and ever since they've been boys, and now here they are fighting each other. So former friends turned enemies here as things kick off in this grudge match, and they're playing the I know every move you know because we're best friends. So they did a great job of doing the scouting thing, like early on, where they're like countering each other's counters to the counters. And more counters. It was pretty impressive to see how fast they could do this. Eventually, Wentz hits a cross corkscrew splash to the outside, and then Wes sends him into the post a few times and starts working the knee and the arm. Eventually, there's a handspring knee from Wentz to get a comeback, and then there's a PK off the apron, which Wes does a full rotation here. And then Wentz hits a whisper in the wind to the outside, rolls him in the ring, and hits a swanton. Shout out Jeff Hardy for a near fall. And then Wes Lee tries to come back with a running Meteora, but that's countered into a roll through, very Lance Storm-esque from Zachary Wentz here. But eventually he gets out of this. Lee drops him here and then hits a second rope Phoenix splash. Like this guy wasn't even on the top rope, but still managed to clear the like flipping rotation and the 450 in this to clear, and Wentz kicks out of it. He hits the cardiac kick, but that's also only a 2 count. And he hit him after he hit him with the kick. Vic Joseph on commentary says, Wes may have kicked Wentz so bad that he woke up and thought his name was Carter.
That was a great line.
Which is a reference, obviously, to their line. You do know why. Okay, I'm not lying about this one, or am I? You know why they were called Wes Lee and Nash Carter, right?
Please tell me.
Because of Rush Hour.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew
Detective
that.
Lee, Detective Carter. All I'm saying, Rush Hour 2, one of the goats, one of the fucking goats. Anyways, this match continues, and Nash Carter is still in this thing. He kicked out of the cardiac kick. Eventually, there's a float over DDT from him to come back. Wes tries to hit the knees onto the steps, but he runs into them. And then an unfortunate spot in this match. Wes sets up Wentz on the announce table, and it completely collapses. Oh, yeah. Botchamania definitely coming soon.
I was about to say, you could definitely tell that they set the table up for this exact spot. So when he did the Meteor, it would be like easy for it to collapse. But you want to know what I really liked about it is that although I don't think a lot of wrestlers would have been startled in this moment, but you can always say that there's a lull period when those type of situations happen. I like how Wes and Zach was just like, all right, let's keep doing, let's keep moving, and he went like immediately went to the top and then hit the Meteor.
He still hit the move.
Yeah.
It reminded me. I remember. I think it was MJF and Jay White, where MJF was trying to set him up on the table and it collapsed. So he did the move anyways, and then that's actually what ended up, I think, injuring him. But this time it was the Meteor off the top onto Wentz, but the table had already broken. This was the only like mistake in this match, really, and it wasn't really their fault, I guess. But they go back into the ring, and this is when Wes is angry, so he grabs a steel chair, but someone grabs it out of his hands, and it's Trey Miguel, the other rascal, and he says, "Nah, you're not going to do this, you bastard." Wes turns around, and off the apron, Zachary Wentz hits a Canadian destroyer onto Wes, rolls him back into the ring, and then I don't know if anyone's ever seen this finisher before, but the UFO cutter is, pardon my pun, out of this world because this move is crazy, and he hits it on Wes, and Zachary Wentz, a TNA superstar, a TNA wrestler, has beaten a WWE superstar here in a pretty great match. But what did you think?
But this was 100% the right move, especially considering like this is a partnership between these two companies, and a wrestler just won this championship fresh as hell on Friday, so I think it would have been a horrible move to have him lose in this situation, and I think it makes sense in the overall story for Zach to pick up the win, and I think it was just a good call overall. Like so when the match first started, I was kind of thinking like they were going to like basically be trying to like, you know, essentially try to kill each other for the most part. Like I thought it was gonna be like some blood thing. They were gonna be beating the hell out of each other. But I did really like the story of like, oh, I know you and you know me and we know all each other's moves and X, Y, and Z. We're just gonna figure out who can get the upper hand. Like I pointed out about the Meteor spot, I like how they continued that, you know, even though there was like that little mishap. I like Trey McGill's involvement. I'm interested to see how I'm pretty sure he'll factor into that what Wes will factor into that tag number one contenders match. Coming up. So, and then like what I was about to say, like as far as Wes goes, man, like I feel like he's sort of going through that same sort of phase that Roxanne Perez went through when she first turned heel. Like but even now, like Roxanne Perez, she just looks like a baby face. You know what I'm saying? She always comes up like that. But I think over time she has gotten a lot better in sliding herself into that heel role. And now I feel like she's a credible heel, where at first it kind of felt like she was still the good wrestler trying to act bad. When I feel like Wes is sort of finding himself in that transition because he's been a baby face for so long. I feel like he's still trying to find that thing that makes him come off like a heel. Like he's still very much outside of his verbal actions. And you know, of course, some of his physical actions, he still very much comes off like he's still that baby face stench on him. And I feel like it's going to take just a little bit more reps for him to fully immerse himself in that heel role, like how Roxanne is right now.
No, I completely agree about Roxanne. Like at first it was a little jarring, and then now she's like, you know, one of the best wrestlers of the year and definitely owning up that character, and maybe even better as a heel than she ever was as a baby face. Wes is still, we're in that period again, in a weird way. I kind of wish it was Wentz who turned heel, because when it comes down to it, Wes chasing for the NXT title will be a big deal and the crowd will want to be behind him, whereas chasing it as a heel might not make sense. So I'm wondering if this feud kind of continues, because I really enjoyed this match. In fact, this might be my favorite match of the night. The table spot was unfortunate, but it happens. But this match was crazy, and the chemistry that these two, you know, friends obviously have, like it showed. But also part of me is like, I still think there might be another chapter left. So maybe them getting in more of a match, setting up for whether it's a Chicago show or the Halloween Havoc, but maybe some sort of gimmick match between them. Like, you know, you said where it gets maybe a bit more violent down the line. But either way, really enjoyed this. And it was kind of cool seeing Zach get this big win and kind of some justice for, you know, all this bad stuff his boy's been doing to him. And, you know, leaving WWE.
A TNA wrestler pinned the WWE title on the show. Man.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Thought I'd never see the day.
And then he held up the X Division title. Like, what?
Yeah, man.
Remember back in the day, you'd never think that. That's crazy.
Bro, let me tell you something, dog. If Vince was still in charge, I promise you that shit would never happen. That would not happen at all. So yeah, this definitely a signal in terms of like the change of the guard in terms of specifically in terms of the booking. So
for sure,
there you go.
But
shout out to Zach Wentz.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great moment for him and a pretty awesome match. We get a Bad Blood commercial. Cody Rhodes and Metro Boomin are still camping out, waiting for this pay-per-view, which hopefully.
Hey, what you think is going to headline that Bad Blood show?
I mean, Punk was it the presser or interview or whatever yesterday or today was like, yeah, I'm done with Drew now. And
bullshit.
Yeah. I think I again, that feud has been good, but the matches didn't deliver. So I think
you think more. So?
For me personally, I thought they were kind of a snooze fest. But I think having them maybe one more time in a Hell in a Cell might make the most sense.
You want to know so crazy? Like I'm actually like I think it's because I've been somewhat impressed at how they've been able to keep a story hot and very relevant, considering Punk has been injured for 6 months of this said story. And I think that finally seeing them pay it off. Like I didn't think the SummerSlam match was bad by any means, and I really liked the strap match they had. But I can also see why people have like a varying opinion about it. But I kind of look at it like this. I'm like, I'm not expecting a 45-year-old CM Punk who has damn near 30 years of wear and tear on his body to be going out there and doing X, Y. But like, I think for what that match was on Saturday, I was like, that was a nice little match. You know what I'm saying? He had some blood involved, and
I think it was the gimmick. I think it was just the wrong gimmick.
You talking about the Four Corners thing?
Yeah,
I think the last time that happened, what was that one? I think it was Batista and JBL, Great American Bash. I think that last time. So I mean.
Eddie and JBL as well.
Eddie and JBL. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say I have a problem with that stipulation, but I think it is just because of recency. Like when Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson had this strap match, like that shit was fire.
It's or the MJF Punk dog collar match,
the dog collar match. Yeah,
similar, but yeah, like yesterday I tweeted the 4 corner strap match got to be top 5 worst gimmick match ideas. A lot of people agreed with me, but then someone said, shout out at Find Keys, who said, "Sir, you're forgetting Punjabi Prison, Kennel from Hell, Viagra on a pole, and Judy Bagwell on a forklift, and the Gulf of Mexico match," which, the Gulf of Mexico match is pretty lit. So also involving CM Punk, but
Kennel from Hell.
Yeah, got it.
That is the worst.
You know what was the best part of the CM Punk Drew match is Drew McIntyre had CM Punk's bracelet, and then he put it in his trunks and rubbed it all over his ball sweat. And then when Punk won the match, he took the bracelet off and then gave it a big old wet smooch.
There you go. I kept seeing people tweet that yesterday. I was like, that was funny. But yeah, that whole deal.
Anyways, he won. The bracelet is in the right hands. That's the most coveted title in all of professional wrestling right now. That and the Roman Reigns bloodline thing. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it right now, but like
I wanted to call it Fall Ball, but I think that's a TNA wrestler.
but like the fact that they've been able to get people to give a shit about a bracelet is like amazing to me. Like that's crazy. But yeah, back to this No Mercy pay-per-view.
Diggity dog. We go to our next match, a North American Championship, the Women's North American Championship on the line. The champion, Kelani Jordan, taking on Wendy Choo. We see Hank and Tank. They're watching the show before we get the entrances. Hank and Tank are watching backstage. Or at home, it seemed. They're very excited about this pay-per-view. I'm sure they were going to be eating some food. And then we see Joe Hendry, who's talking to Trick backstage. And Trick tells him once again that he believes and tonight is his night. And Joe says that he's still holding up his end of the bargain, that if he wins, he will give Trick an opportunity at the title. So will that happen? We'll see.
A little persuasion, if you will.
Yes, we'll see how much he believes. But Wendy Choo comes out and she's all acting spooky. What do you think about spooky Wendy Choo, Andrew? What's your thoughts on? Because I've said for weeks and months, whatever, I always liked Wendy Choo, Karen Q. She's been always like a pretty good worker, but she's been given some weird gimmicks in NXT.
Wasn't she in Tiana Shaw?
Yeah, exactly. She was a demon. Then she was like a sleepy, snoozy stoner lady, and then now Orange Cassidy kind of character. And now they've like put them together, and she's just a spooky, scary Annabelle doll or something.
Like I look at it like this. This is much like I kind of think not on the same level, but I would say like right here, like this is the difference between what I'm about to say. Like Wendy Choo and the D'Angelo family, I just call them like NXT. What do they say? Shout out to Hansi. See, stopping by to say what's up. Shout out to Hansi, man. But like it's kind of they're NXT acts. That's what I call it in terms of like eventually making that transition. I don't see Wendy Choo coming up to the main roster ever with this gimmick. I don't think it survives on the main roster. I think the most she'll get is like main event matches before Raw. Like that's probably the most that she'll get. I think that she'll definitely have to switch this thing up, but I think it works for NXT. Like I'm not personally invested in it, but I'm talking about just in terms of like the varying characters that exist within the universe of NXT. I think that this fits, but I don't. This will never fly or transition.
Yeah. It won't get any further than this. Like it can't get any further than this. So I don't know necessarily where it goes. And I always thought she was great, but she's been in NXT for a while, and every time it's always with this weird different characters, and this one's maybe my least favorite because at least before she was in like a spooky cult with like demons and ghosts, and then now she was sleepy, and I could definitely feel with that, but now it's like what
she had a great match with Tiffany Stratton. What was that? It was at when they had like it was a lights out match, an unsanctioned match or something like that, but. I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I mean, I think the only thing left to do now for Wendy in this gimmick is probably got to do the tag team with Rosemary.
We'll see, and they teased it for sure, but yeah. Well, Wendy Choo versus Kelani Jordan here, North American title on the line. Eventually, it starts off where Wendy's trying to get at her. Kelani does this pretty huge, like sends her to the outside and hits this tope springboard kind of thing, which was pretty nice. Eventually goes in for her split-legged, but Wendy rolls out of the way. There's a bunch of handsprings into a moonsault for a near fall. Wendy comes back and gets Kelani into the tree of woe and hits a drop kick. Eventually, I think it's Wendy who's trying to pick up Kelani, and Kelani like flips up and lands on her feet. It was an impressive little counter of a move. There's a sunset flip, and then I'm calling it the sleepy time elbow because she puts her hands to her head and then pretends she's asleep and does it. There's a tornado DDT from Kelani for a near fall, and then this is the execution, but the one Edge used to do where you like put them face like almost like the X Factor kind of thing. Kelani loves her retro wrestling moves, and I know she's studying the game. You can tell. This is where Wendy starts to act possessed because she's a spooky doll. This is when Booker T just goes, "Oh my God," and just started screaming and got a huge pop out of me because I'm like, Booker, what are you talking about?
But
I didn't understand.
You wonder what Giulia was doing this match, bro, when Big Joseph was like, "She's possessed."
Vic yells, "She's possessed," and Booker's like, "Oh my God." It's like, what?
And I don't understand. Like, but it was like the crowd. It took them a minute to get into this. Like, I felt like it. Yeah. I don't even think it was because of the match. I think it was more so because they were enjoying Kelani because like she's very impressive. Like she has like a couple little moves in there. Like when it'll engage the audience, and I felt like it took for her to pull those out of her bag for them to sort of wake up for this match.
Yeah. There's Kelani who hits this frog splash for a near fall, but then Wendy comes back and hits a power bomb, which looked pretty nice. And then I've been telling Wendy for months that her character's sleepy, even before this spooky one, that like she should be doing the sleeper. And now she's kind of incorporated the sleeper into new moves because she hits the Cobra Clutch, but then eventually hits a sleeper slam, or dare I say, the one and only, which is just a fantastic wrestling move. But that's only a 2 count. She then locks in the Cobra Clutch as Kelani is trying to fight for her life. But eventually she drops her down, gets the legs wrapped around. And Andrew, I swear to you, I thought for 1 second that it was over and Kelani was losing this title. She did a great job of.
I did too, bro.
She did it. Both of them did a great job of making me truly believe this. But as the ref lifts her hand, and I mean, we're all wrestling fans, but they don't do this spot enough anymore. Where I mean, Randy kind of passed out the other night, but the arm just raising at the very last second, classic wrestling spot as Kelani fights back. She gets out of this. Another classic Edge move, the downward spiral, also a good album, hits a 450 splash, and then for good measure, the one-of-a-kind split-legged moonsault for the 1, 2, 3. And just like that, Kelani Jordan retains in 13 minutes, 19 seconds.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't like as like I don't think it was a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. Now I would probably say this was when I'm looking at the card, this was my least favorite of the night.
I agree with you.
Like again, I just think it was more so just stylistically, it's just 2 very different wrestlers. Especially like I agree with your point about Karen Q and when like I think that when she can just wrestle.
Yeah,
she's really like, I remember even when she was doing some stuff in Ring of Honor, like she's really good, but like she has to play into this character and it hinders her a little bit. And I feel like that's been like most of her NXT run. Like I think if they just try to find something to just let her be herself, then you'll get more production value out of her and more sustainability and longevity out of her, as opposed to like these short-term spooky characters that only last like 6 to 8 months, and then you eventually have to turn around because it just gets stale. I think Kelani's run as a North American champion has been solid so far. I think that she's just looking for that. I like, especially, I really like the match she had with Sol Ruger. I really like that match, that one that she had at E-Wave. I think that next up is probably going to be. I think her next big challenge will probably be at the CW show. I think that I can see her defending against Stephanie Vacker. I can see that happening.
Okay, yeah.
I think that'd be like a nice little big time match to happen. But yeah, I think it was just more so just a stylistic thing. Like these are just 2 very different wrestlers in the sense of the characters they play, and I just think that you sort of saw that throughout the match. But I think it was solid for what it was.
Yeah, again, it was maybe my least favorite on this show, but I think it took me a while to get more into it. Obviously, the silly stuff and the possessed stuff is.
She's possessed.
She's possessed. Not necessarily for me. I like my spooky possession stuff, but not when it's in wrestling. It never really works for me. And I think this match like got going and got even better. Where I think a lot of people going into it are like, oh, what even is this character? And I still can't answer that question. But I didn't necessarily think it was a bad match. But comparing to everything else on the show, yeah, it was maybe my interest level was. I dropped off a little bit. But after the match, Tatum Paxley rises from the ring and attacks Wendy Choo and puts her in this is a sleeper, a dragon sleeper. That's how you really put someone out here. But I assume we're getting some sort of spooky matches between these 2 coming soon. I mean, it's Halloween, it's Havoc in a month or whatever. So get used to the spookiness. Rosemary probably being added to this, the Dark Realm, and I don't know. Whatever else.
I'm gonna say this. I think we'll get, especially because it's Halloween time. I think we'll get Jade and Bianca versus Rosemary and Wendy Choo at the POE. The only reason I'm saying this is because it's a POE and it's not a TV special. If it was a TV special, I don't think they would have Jade and Bianca there. But I think since it's an arena, it'll be that they'll try to have Jade and Bianca there and have a tag title defense.
Right. Okay.
It'll be that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Kelani is pretty good. Also, like I think this is great to have her in NXT because I think she could be a big deal, and she's definitely showing a lot of stuff and improving, and definitely loves her old school wrestling moves. So
you can tell she a big RVD head. You can tell.
Oh yeah, and Edge too. Yeah, but she's impressive. We see Andre Chase backstage earlier. He was. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, okay, so if she is to drop the title to someone, like, who do you think is probably going to take the title from her? Like the first person that came to my head was probably like other like Stephanie back. That's just like a dream throwaway thing, like a big match that you could just throw on. But I was thinking like more so somebody who could take the title off. But if that had to happen Tuesday, I think they'd probably do it to Fallon Henley. Like it'd probably be her
for sure. I wanted her to be the initial winner in that match, but now she's turned heel. I think it works. I think eventually Kelani will also turn heel, but we'll see where that. I think she could be she's in her Roxanne phase right now. She's the young upstart, and then eventually she's gonna have to break some hearts and stuff. But yeah, we see. Speaking of breaking hearts, oh man, Andre Chase being loaded into the ambulance as Chase U looks on. Thea Hale is bawling. She's crying her eyes out as she gets in the ambulance with Andre Chase, and they drive off to a hospital. So hopefully prayers up for Mr. Andre Chase. I hope he's okay. But and then she sees Ridge, and we see him just smile. And the announcer, I think it's Sarah here, who's like, oh, Ridge, why did you do that? And he just looks at her, gives a smile, and continues walking. So that mean guy Ridge. See what happens with that.
He'll probably explain it on Tuesday.
Yes.
He didn't get his big explanation.
Yeah, the big Ridge it talks to his enemies. We go to our next match. It's also a North American title match, but this time the champ Oba Femi taking on Tony D'Angelo and the family.
I love this guy, bro.
Who? Tony or Oba?
Oba.
I was gonna say I didn't take you for a big Tony D'Angelo fan. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe you're a big fan of Sopranos or something. But yeah, Oba's got it right. Like Oba's got the aura or whatever it is. Like this dude has it from the look of this fucking monster, from the music to the the crowd. Just it works. Whatever it is, this guy should be like headlining multiple manias in the future.
I want the world title on him now.
Yeah, like he should have lost the title right here in a screwy finish so we can get him like bumping up. Yeah, like this guy's got it. I don't even know what it is, but this guy's got it. So Oba Femi comes out, and you know what was even better? I'm already terrified of this man, but he comes out with the North American title, and the crowd's going, ooh, as his music hitting and everything. And as he stands and takes the title off his waist, he rips the Velcro thing off. I don't know why he did that. You catch this? I was watching this. I go, what did this man just do? He just ripped the Velcro, like fuck Velcro, and just ripped it off.
Hey, Bray, let me ask you this: Is Oba Femi supposed to be a heel?
He's been booked as a heel, but then they realized people liked him, so he's been a bit of a tweener.
That's like I'm starting to notice just over the last, like it kind of been like this for a minute. Like he's like the de facto heel. Like that's what because he's imposing. He's supposed to be that person. But like, dude, the crowd, they love Oba Femi, bro.
It's been weird. Yeah, it's been weird because they were booking him with Wes as a babyface, but then people were like, nah, like it's Oba. We love
right.
It's kind of strange, but whatever it is working. Same with Tony. Tony's a mobster, but he's a good guy.
It's
weird.
I know.
Vic Joseph reminds us that this is only Oba's 21st televised match.
Bro, he is so
crazy
good for somebody who has been wrestling for like shortly under a year. Like
crazy.
He has it, bro. They figured it out with Oba Femi.
Well, this match starts off and they go at it right away. Tony keeps trying to battle this guy. It's the Don versus the Ruler here as Tony like clotheslines him out of the ring, and then they get back in, and then they're fighting again here. There's like a spot where early on where Tony runs at him and just like almost collapses. And at first I wasn't really sure what happened as the ref goes to check on Tony. The replay shows that clearly something happened with his boot. And again, right away, I'm like, oh no, they're going to have to stop this match. But Tony D'Angelo seems fine, and the match continues here. But that replay on the ankle, bro, that could have been really bad. And I'm sure he's in a lot of pain. But this guy continued the match without a skip. That was like, oh shit, okay, wow. So they continue this. Tony hits a huge overhead throw on Oba Femi. And I mean, Oba's a big dude, so that was very impressive. Oba, though, comes back with elbows in the corner, and then shout out the Godfather, or the Good Father, as some people call me, Papa Shango shoulder breaker. Very impressive from Oba Femi here, but it's only a 2 count. Eventually, Tony and him are going at it, and he hits the forget about it on this big dude, but he kicks out as well. So Tony's a little bit shook here. There's a power slam, and it's still not enough to keep him down. Eventually, Tony gets Oba up in an electric chair slam. One of my favorite underrated wrestling moves, electric chair drop. But Oba's still not staying down. Eventually, he gets up and he starts catching Tony in all these different moves. And then the family try to get involved. He throws, I think he goes to grab the crowbar and Stacks tries to take it from him. And Oba just throws that dude like across the place. He then takes Luca Crucifino, the lawyer. And you know, this lawyer's just always love getting beat up because he gets thrown around too. And then Oba runs at Tony, but he moves. So Oba hits the steps. He gets back in the ring, and Tony D'Angelo hits the spear. Don't really see him hit this move for a 1-2, and Oba kicks out of this. Tony starts to freak out. He can't really figure how to keep the big man down. He tries to go for what is possible to forget about it, but it's countered, and Oba hits the toss. I don't even know what this is, but that's pretty much the big lifting toss move, and then goes for the power bomb, and Tony gets out of it. They fight on the outside. They go back in, and this is when the pop-up power bomb connects this time, and then Oba signals it's over as he picks him up. But Tony comes back and hits a spine buster out of nowhere, just like he hit like last week or something. A great hope spot here, but it's not enough. And Oba connects with now a sit-out powerbomb. Shout out Batista or Liger for the 1-2-3. And Oba Femi has defeated Tony D'Angelo in 13 minutes, 46 seconds. Lots of 13-minute matches on the show.
Yeah. Hey, Braden, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I think Oba, I don't think Oba should get pinned in NXT.
Ever.
I'm like thinking about like I just maybe it's just because I don't see anybody on the roster right now that's like deserving to end like the reign or whatever. I'm just like I'm very impressed by Oba Femi, like the fact that, like you said, it was his 21st televised match, and like this dude has like somehow gotten the audience on his side when he's supposed to be the de facto bad guy.
Yeah,
and I think that he's very impressive with somebody his size, the way he moves around the ring. Like he's you can tell he's like really starting to understand like sort of the timing aspect of wrestling, like having a lot of his cues down and being ready for certain spots, and even things like it's just like he's like learning the small things that really make a match all come together. And I'm starting to like notice a lot of these things just from even when he's on TV as well. Like when he's non-wrestling segments, like he's very comfortable in the microphone, it seems like, and very getting used to feeding off the audience and stuff. Like they got something special with Oba Femi. Like, and when you have, I'm not gonna say a good big man is so it seems like it's becoming like a rarity in pro wrestling a little bit. Like somebody who has the in-ring ability, the athleticism, the durability, not getting injured for somebody that size, like the mic skills, the music, the crowd.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Oba Femi is going to be something very, very special. Like I'm genuinely looking forward to the like 3 or 4 years from now, like when this like contract is coming up, and see like how the companies try to like see if they can sway him one way or the other or whatever like that. Because I think that if he keeps on, his upside is very strong, like the potential that he has. And I feel like if he just keeps this trajectory and you keep building him up, and we haven't even gotten to the point yet where he's supposed to be a baby face. Like he's supposed to be the bad guy in most of these scenarios, but people just like him. But I'm also, in terms of this match, I want to give Tony D'Angelo his credit as well, because I think that he made up for a good challenger, especially because of his wrestling background. I think D'Angelo was like a collegiate wrestler, like in Buffalo or some shit like that. So I think a lot of his move set, and especially his side. But Tony D'Angelo ain't no small dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that helped a lot as well in terms of like the matchup and the visual aspect of it all. And like he was able to get some of them suplexes off. Like he was tossing Oba Femi around, and it wasn't unbelievable that he could do those things, because Tony D'Angelo has like he's like heavy set built in terms of like the muscle and stuff. So it doesn't look crazy. Him throwing around Oba Femi, it looks like it works. So I think that he was a very like formidable challenger as well. So definitely credit to both of them.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think this over delivered for me for sure. Cause Oba's been protected in these like multi-man matches. And the real challenge was the Wes match at Heatwave. And that was pretty good. But like this one was a bit more of a Haas fight. Whereas like, yeah, Tony's like not the biggest dude, but he's no slouch. He's a wrestler and he's kind of jacked too. So I think Tony's been stepping up and I'm almost like, is he ready to go to the main roster? I'm not sure if the family necessarily is yet, but I feel like the main roster world of casual wrestling fans would eat up a Mafia Sopranos character as like, I just think it would work eventually. But yeah, you're talking about Oba never being pinned. Like he either never loses this title and then wins the NXT title, or like they got to figure something out because like you can't have this guy ever lose. But man, he's awesome.
Do you have him on the CW show? Like, I mean, of course have him, but I mean, like in ring. Like, do you have him?
Yeah, he'll defend it. Yeah, defend the title against someone. I don't. CM Punk needs a match, so.
Would you bring down the main roster talent to do that? Like,
yeah.
I think that's like I'm trying to think of like who you could bring down. Like, I mean, of course, I think would be somebody that's not currently involved in any big time storylines or anything like that. But I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to be like a slouch or anything like that. But it would have to be like somebody that's formidable, that has some type of good name value that you can break down. But yeah, Oba Femi, I don't think he should get pinned. But like in terms of what you were saying about the D'Angelo family going in the main roster, like I had sort of brought it up earlier. Like I don't think it's on the same level as a Wendy Choo. I think it's like on a far lesser level. But in terms of like the kidnapping people and the burying people, like it's very NXT-ish.
Exactly.
But I think that if you can sort of just tweak it a little bit and tone down the
tone it up.
Yeah.
Tone it up. Be totally Tony Soprano, murder people, do whatever.
But you want to know what? I think it would be an interesting like test to see how they would actually work on the main roster. Like I think it would be interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, he's another one where it's like, okay, they're giving us the stereotypical Italian mobster, eye roll, but then you watch him like grow into it and really work and accept it and go like, go in all the way. That now I appreciate it. So I'm kind of like I think like a match like this was one of the better matches on this show, and he definitely impressed. So good for him. I'm not saying I'm done with him in NXT. I'm just like, hey, what would happen if he went to the main roster? Like, because we said Oba Femi, it's like at any point that guy could be on the main roster already. I mean, I think down in NXT, he's going to learn a lot and have great matches like this. He's only going to get better and better and better, but we'll see.
Hey, Braden, do you think he wins the NXT title before he goes to the main roster?
Yeah, like there's a chance he doesn't, because they're like, no, we got to get this guy, up there eventually. But the same could go for Tony D. Like he's had his opportunities, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, fun match there, and both guys really delivered. Love the gear on Tony too. Very Italian mobster. We see Ethan Page backstage, and he's visited by Trick Williams, and he's like, "Hey, I know you." Trick says, "I'm gonna call it," and Ethan just interrupts it and goes, "Right down the middle? Yeah, I'm sure you will." And says, "I know you're only in this because you want this title, but you're not gonna get it, are you? You will never get this." So we see backstage Zachary Wentz with Trey Miguel being interviewed, and he says he's had his biggest PLE moment at this big show, and he won the match even though he lost a brother. And he says that he's very happy, but he still has another brother here, Trey, and he's grateful that he's got him, and that real true friends show up. Real friends. He then says that the Rascals are still together, meaning these two, and that Fraxiom may have beat us the other week, but we're the real Rascals, so maybe they should give us a shot at those titles. So Fraxiom, what do you say? And yeah, I mean, we kind of learn later that there will be some sort of tag match that goes to that. But good moment for Zach.
Yeah, definitely a good moment for Zach. Like again on this Rascals match, I think you saved that for the CW. They save that. Like go ahead and let Gallus get their win. Have him pin Hank and Tank. Or if you want to take a chance, give Hank and Tank and win over Gallus. Either way. But I think you saved that Rascals match. Like That's my match for the CW premiere.
And that'll be a wild match.
Hey, bro.
Yeah. Be crazy. The last one was nuts too, but they'd go even more balls to the wall for sure. We go to our next match, the NXT Women's Championship. The champion, Roxanne Perez, defending against Jaida Parker. We get I like these new like gorilla position mini promos before matches now, because Jada's here and she's starts talking and she says that I don't need your silly little nickname like you've got, Roxanne, but Jada's on point and I'm going to win this title. So let's go, and makes her way to the ring. And then out comes the champion, Roxanne Perez, been on one hell of a run this year with this NXT title. In I don't know if you saw this Tuesday, but she looked very scared on Tuesday, looking at a figure, an off-camera figure. I'll say the word off-camera. There was nobody there, but off-camera, she was very scared of this person. And going into No Mercy, we were all wondering, who could this person be? And we will get our answer by the end of this match. But Jaida versus Roxanne starts, and in that promo on Tuesday, Roxanne got slapped by Jaida.
She slapped the shit out of her, bro.
That was a big slap, like 5 fingers. Damn, crazy. Slap. So what does Roxanne do here in early moments of this match? She gives Jaida a receipt and slaps Jaida Parker, but Jaida didn't like that. So they start to go at it back and forth. Eventually, Jaida goes for, I think Roxanne goes for a tope, but Jaida catches her and tries to slam her, but Roxanne then puts her into a surfboard onto the steps. The crowd are getting actually really into Roxanne and into Jaida. So good for both of them, because I know obviously Roxanne's a bigger star, but this is Jada's first big PLE and the crowd are pretty behind her at some points. This is where Roxy starts to attack the shoulder even more, and then hits a knee drop, and then starts to. I could be wrong here. What is this dance, Roxanne? Is this LeBron James?
Are you talking about that's LeBron? That's the dance he hit when he hit that game win over Golden State.
Okay, got you. Right. So she hits this like dance here and gets a reaction out of the crowd as Vic and Booker are like, oh yeah, I think they called that high step or something like that. Eventually, there's a power bomb for a 2 count, and then a spine buster for a 2 count. But not enough. There's then Jaida who comes back with the teardrop butt attack, but like this one's like from like the very top and drops down onto Roxanne, but still only a 2 count. Jaida starts to sell the knee here, and at one point I was getting a little nervous, and the ref straight up asks her, "Hey, can you continue?" And she's like, I'm fine, I can continue," and then gets up and hits a reverse suplex on Roxy, which was very nice as well, but only a 2 count. She then goes for the great finisher name, terrible finisher, the hypnotic, but it's countered into a roll-up for a near fall, and then that's turned into the crossface, and a great moment here where she's trying to fight out of this crossface, but eventually gets out of this. She runs at Roxy and connects with the hypnotic, the butt to the face, but this sends Roxanne to the outside, so she goes to follow her, and they start to brawl and fight when the Pop Rocks is hit into like the barricade area, and then she's rolled back into the ring. And as they're fighting, right away, the Pop Rocks is hit right away again. And this time it's a 1-2-3 as Roxanne Perez pins Jaida Parker in 14 minutes, 49 seconds to retain the title.
Yeah, man. So when Jaida Parker came out, bro, like when she came in front of the audience, I think that was probably the biggest reaction of any talent that night to their entrance. Like in terms of just seeing the talent, like people was on their feet when they saw her come. I was kind of surprised. I was like, I mean, I wasn't surprised in the sense like in terms of her popularity, but in terms of like comparing everybody else that already came out, like she got the biggest entrance reaction up to that point. And I was like, oh shit, people really
she's on point.
Yeah. I was like, people really like Jaida Parker, bro. And like again, I had said it earlier. I was very interested to see how she performed on this stage. Because, I mean, of course, like she's going to be accustomed to performing in front of the crowd at the PC. A lot of those people are like people that you see every week that attend those shows. And I think that she looked comfortable. She looked confident. She sounded confident when she did the pre-match promo. She looked confident in the ring. She didn't seem startled at all. And like, and the thing I really liked about this, and this was fuck all the moves that happened in the match. This was the best thing to me about this match. Jaida Parker consistently selling her ribs. because she had the kinesio tape on, bro. She continued to sell the ribs. There was no point in the match where she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I can do everything now. My ribs are fat." At every single high point in the match, she always sold the ribs. Like I think it was a point she tried to hit like she had to try to hit a suplex or press slam or something like that, and it prevented her from doing, like, she was like, "Oh, my ribs," like she couldn't do it. Like, and then even when Roxanne was doing the simple, like, pulling her across the LED post, she was like selling that hard, like, because you could see the kinesio tape underneath her gear, like it was all around her. Like that was like the best thing about this match. Like I love when wrestlers it's like when somebody gets their leg beat up for a whole match, and the next they doing like springboards and shit like that.
450s,
you know what I'm saying? It's like she consistently stayed on, like, reminding the viewing audience that my ribs are fucked up. Like, and I think it played even more to that when she did the hip attack into the barricade thing. Because it was like, oh yeah, that made it even worse and elevated. Then taking the pop rocks onto it, you know what I'm saying? Like I think Jaida, she had I think these moments right here, especially for a young talent like her, is when you're like, can we put the title on her one day? Yeah. And I think that by this performance, it's like, okay, one day we can most definitely roll with Jaida Parker.
For sure. Like, this is her biggest moment in her career. Like, I think she's only been in WWE for a year, 2 years. She's 25. She's really, really young. And this was a breakout moment. And I think NXT is giving us a lot of these things in this weird era we're in. We're doing these PLEs. They're trying all these new things. We're going to be moving to CW, but they've let people, like, look, Kelani, they go out there at Heatwave with Sol Ruka in a big singles match. That's a big deal. The same with Lola Vice versus Roxanne last time. Mm-hmm. Here we have Jaida Parker. Like you said, it was really interesting seeing her get the big reaction here, where these people must know who she is or like support NXT, because like this is her biggest moment. And I feel like, she didn't win the match, but it was a bit of a test trial. Like, okay, well, one day Roxanne's not going to be here and we're going to need some other stars. So in a weird way, it's slowly building them up. The same with Lola Vice, like after last month or Heatwave or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, we might have something here. And I'm not saying this was my favorite match on the show, but I think Jaida definitely stepped up and brought it. And I think Jada's got like the like superstar quality where she's like even before her match, like the shit talking and stuff, like she comes across really like natural and that kind of stuff. And I see a super chat here from shout out Mark, who says, I feel for her promos as if they just tell Jaida, go talk some real shit or whatever. And her delivery is so natural and believable. It's crazy. Totally agree with that. Like she comes across that way. So I thought this was a pretty good match. And Roxanne Perez is like easily the best women's wrestler in 2024. Had a great run with this title and completely coming into her own with this heel character that I've been way more into this character than anything else she's done, and not knocking any of her matches or stories or whatever, but this is the Roxanne that will be taking over the women's wrestling world. In like, once she gets the main roster, she will be one of the biggest stars. No doubt, because she's got wrestling, she's got the attitude, she's got everything, including the NXT title, which she better clutch like her pearls, because the lights go out after this match and we see the smoke, we see the lights at the entrance, the music hits. It's real spooky. It's Giulia has arrived in NXT. Giulia is here finally with the blonde hair, looking real scary. Comes out, goes down to the ring, and we get what we've been waiting for, a face-to-face between Giulia and Roxanne Perez. So I think we can say that we're seeing this match very, very soon. But yes, the rumors are true. Giulia is signed with NXT, and can't wait to see whatever this leads to, because Giulia is fantastic talent. And if you're not familiar with her, you should definitely look up some of her older stuff. But she is one hell of a talent. And I think this match, which I'm assuming is Halloween Havoc, maybe, will be one hell of a match.
That's decent. Yeah, I was about to say, I was thinking, I was like, you can't do everything on that CW show. Like, that's a 2-hour show. Like, you can't do everything on there. So,
exactly.
Yeah. You give it a good month build. Halloween Havoc the 27th. What's that? October.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, you know what I'm saying? That's a good amount of time. Then you can get Giulia some TV matches. You can have her wrestle on the CW show, but it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
against Roxanne. You can teeter around a little bit before you get back to that title program. Because I think whenever that match happens, Giulia's winning the title. She's winning the belt.
Yeah.
I think she's taking the title from Roxanne. They're just like waiting, and then like you said, I think Roxanne will have a solid run on the main roster. Hopefully they sort of keep this trend of this character that she has, and she doesn't have to start all over and do the baby face thing and then turn to a heel. But yeah, man, Giulia coming to NXT, like I think it's been sort of long time coming. Like even when she was at WrestleMania, she was at Stand and Deliver. They showed her in the crowd and stuff like that. It was just a matter of time. And then she was wrestling Marty Gold, and she broke her wrist, and that sort of delayed things a little bit. Like I remember I seen her. I think it was from Fight for the Leg. They reported that she was supposed to be at Heat Wave, but the broken wrist thing, like that was she had to get surgery and all that stuff and was healing. So yeah, it's everything turned out as supposed to. She in NXT now, and I think that Roxanne got about a good month's time. Before Giulia takes the title off her. But yeah, Giulia's a fucking beast, bro. Like she
looked great.
She's
too.
a great wrestler.
She got everything right. Like she's a bit of a complete package. So I think they got a huge star on her hands. And obviously the Roxanne Giulia match will be groundbreaking. But I'm looking to the bigger picture. Io Sky versus Giulia in a WWE ring will like absolutely take my money. But there's a few other big dream matches that come to mind, like whether it's like Tiffany or Becky, if that ever happens. Like I think WWE women's roster is going to be really in good hands in the next few years because they got some crazy talent coming in. But I thought she came across as a star with just the like aura and the crowd kind of gasping at like, whoa, she's actually here, and really cool hair as well. Yeah, like blonde and purple and blue and stuff.
They definitely made a good impression on her first like big arrival and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Giulia will have a great run in NXT, like especially considering the talents that she'll be able to work with and stuff like that. And I think that they'll probably hold off on her in-ring debut for a little bit. And I think that when that does happen, we'll get like a big showcase for her. Like she'll get like a good 10 minutes, to show what she can do and X, Y, and Z. And then once we get to that Halloween Havoc, that's when they'll let her, her and Roxanne, go full balls to the wall. So I'm interested to see how that all plays out. But in NXT they have you got Stephanie Baker, you have Giulia, and then this I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it's been a lot of reports about Delta coming in. Like she's an Australian wrestler. She was wrestling like an MCW and stuff like that, Melbourne City Wrestling. And yeah, I from just the highlights that I've seen of her, I've only seen like one MCW show. I think it was when Buddy Matthews was wrestling there. She looked great. Like, so I mean, I'm pretty sure she'll have a solid run or however they decide to introduce her into the mix. But NXT, man, they got a solid women's division. Like I even Giulia, who was she wrestled in Rosie Agawa's Marty Go promotion. Like the girl Zeta Steele has been like hinting that something is coming, and she's been very vague about it. Like I don't know exactly what she's hinting at. Like, it could be anything, but she like it just from some of the responses under her tweets and quote tweets, it seems like she might be going to NXT, and she's very solid too, a very solid wrestler. She wrestled with Giulia and Marty Go for that tour of Japan that they had. So man, in NXT, y'all, man. Nice division, bro. Nice division.
Giulia, welcome to NXT. Giulia just been wrestling for years, signs to NXT, and then her first match, she's gonna have to kick some volleyball player in the head. Probably what's gonna happen. Hey, you learned strong style? Yeah. Anyways, here's a baseball player. Teach him how to wrestle. No, I'm half joking there. But yeah, super cool to see her show up in a great debut in a face-to-face. And we're clearly getting that match, and we're all salivating at what that could be because those are two of the most talented for sure. I can't wait to see what she can do in a WWE ring. So very cool to see her there. We go to Ava backstage, who says there's no update thus far on Andre Chase, but to follow socials if we get any updates, and then mentions some matches for this Tuesday, including a triple threat tag team match. Gallus, who was in this match? Gallus, Hank and Tank, and the Rascals, and the winner gets the next week's match, which I think is the USA week or whatever. So you're thinking that Rascals lose because maybe Wes screws them on Tuesday, and that gives like Gallus or whatever something to do, and then we save the Rascals match for like our friend Sino Evil says that for the Chicago show they should have Axiom and Frazer versus Gringo Loco and Perez. Chicago, Gringo Loco, and everything, but I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. But that is some dream match wishing, because outside of Rascals, who else can those guys face? Like maybe you bring in some other TNA people, whether it's ABC or something, but yeah, not sure. But also on Tuesday, we're going to get Lexis King versus Oro Mensa and Pete Williams versus Pete Dunne versus Trick Williams. Pete Williams sounds like some singer from the 90s or something.
Sound like a cleanup hitter for the
or
St.
Trick
Louis
Dunne
Cardinals or something.
Trick Dunne sounds like a country artist there. Tricks and Dunne. We go to our main event of No Mercy. It is time to whoop that Trick, because out comes Trick Williams as our special guest referee. What did you think of his ref fit here? I liked this vest he was wearing. The stripes. You didn't like it.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Hello. Okay. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I had sort of like my screen sort of zoned out a little bit.
I just
like,
froze it. I asked you about Trick's vest, and you were just like, "I have no thoughts on this whatsoever."
I think my screen was frozen. But yeah, with in terms of like Tricks, since it's we've had the constant trend of the referees like Seth Rollins in his Sabu pants, and then now we have we got Trick Williams in his vest and his whistle. So there you go.
Trick Daddy. Out comes the challenger for the NXT Championship, Joe Hendry, representing TNA. Do you believe?
Hey, Braden. He belongs in this setting.
For
Joe
sure.
Hendry, bro. This motherfucker is over. Like, I'm telling you, like, I don't know what TNA has planned, but let me tell you this. Nick Nemeth, I don't know if they're going to have him beat Moose at Victory Road this month, but Bound for Glory is next month, right?
Right.
Detroit. Yeah. Joe Hendry needs to be in the main event challenger for the TNA World title. Yeah. He needs to win. Like, he belongs in these arena settings, and he just belongs in the main event, period. Somebody like, and then again, this dude ain't like no fly by night flash in the pan. Somebody got over, but Joe Hendry been wrestling for fucking years, and he like it's like finally clicking. So like, I think TNA they need to next month Bound for Glory, strap him up.
It's weird. It's like, I don't remember who exactly says this, but like to become an overnight success, you got to do it for like 10 years. Does that make sense? Like he's been wrestling. True. He's been wrestling for all these years, doing it, grinding like every other wrestler, and then all of a sudden he's just become like a household name. And in his like biggest, he's got like everyone talking about him and everything. Like part of me is like, oh, like once WWE gets a hold of something cool, they tend to kill it. They WWE-ify it and they water it down. And I think kind of they've done that with him. They're trying to like, yeah, he's the popular thing, but I think that at least they're smart enough to be like, hey, this guy is popular, that fuck it, why don't we use him? And look, he's in the main event of a pay-per-view for NXT in the title match. So like, yeah, good for him. And he's totally deserved it. And I thought this was a pretty fun match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. We go to the champion coming out, Ego. Love this song, but you know what I love more is
fire song.
I can't tell if it's terrible and I love it or it's good and I love it. But either way, I don't know if me or you love it as much as Booker T loves it, because Booker T's singing the lyrics here. Holy shit. Kill him with a smile. I was dying at this. Like I said, Book was on one. Oh my God, this was so funny. Yeah, it's because Ethan's done Reality of Wrestling. So we start off with the NXT Championship on the line. The champ from, I see someone in the chat, Hamilton representing for Ethan Page here. And we start things off. Joe early on gets the advantage by grabbing Page and starts lifting him up. And he's doing these like body slam where he's like walking around with him. And then finally slams him down. Ethan gets a guillotine choke, but Joe comes back and hits another standing suplex for a near fall. Put some clothes on chance directed at Ethan Page because of the whole song from last week and stuff, which is weird because he's not wearing clothes, but he's wearing wrestling gear. But yeah, they're fighting up top, and Joe attempts a avalanche choke slam, but it's countered and hit with a super power slam from Page, but it's only a 2. They're up there again, and Joe hits a fall-away slam off the second rope, and then it's Page who rolls to the outside. So Hendry does his running like dive to the outside, which is very impressive. Like clears the ropes like some sort of Olympian and dives to the outside. Back as they're fighting ringside, Ethan Page picks him up for the Ego's Edge, and unlike Kevin Owens, nails this move onto the apron here and just like hurting Hendry's back as he starts to work the back and leaves him there as Trick is slowly counting like the count out, and he gets to 9 as Hendry makes it back in. And then it's Hendry who comes back and hits his own Ego's Edge. So more of a Hendry's Edge here, but Ethan kicks out of that. There's another fall away slam. And then the crowd start to chant, "We believe," as he does the "We will rock you" claps. And then it goes for the standing ovation, a huge choke slam. But as he goes for the pin, Trick, being the honest man that he is, the ref, notices that Page's foot is under the ropes and he cannot count this. He says, "No, I'm sorry, Joe, not this way." So as this is all happening, it's Page who gets back up, and eventually it's Trick who gets knocked down. And then there's a new ref who comes out for the save, but then Trick comes back in to stop a count. It's getting all crazy WWE overbooking here. Trick stops him, and as Trick is like talking to the other ref, like, "Nah, get the hell out of here," it's Page who capitalizes with the distraction by low blowing Joe, and then hits a huge Ego's Edge. This one,
bro, he dropped him with his fucking neck.
Oh like, man,
Jesus!
This guy bombed him here. This looked like it hurt so bad. This is one of the best ones I've ever seen. I hope he's okay because. This guy dropped him on the back of his head. Here,
hey, I'm about to say, wow. Braden, good thing the TNA had they taped it yesterday.
Yeah, they're like, "Yo, are you good?" I hope he's okay. I've seen him walking around, and there's already filmed backstage stuff, so the guy must be okay. But this was one of the biggest Razor's Edges I've ever seen. Like he took him down with this one. He was on the back of he was folded up with this one, and just like that, Trick is forced to count the pin. I love Trick. He was so like. Counting it slow, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to count this," but he counts it 1, 2, 3, and in 15 minutes, 7 seconds, Ethan Page retains the NXT Championship.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot, man. The crowd was they was half of Joe Hendry, man. They loved him from Joe Hendry. And I think they would half for Ethan Page too, in terms of the sense of like him being the bad guy in this scenario. I think they were very invested and engaged in Ethan Page, and of course his counterpart as well, and then Trick Williams' involvement. I think this was a solid match, man. I enjoyed it. I think that it raises a level from solid for me because of the crowd interaction and how invested everyone was. Like especially if I remember that moment when I think he just hit some move on Page, and then he like turned, faced the audience, and then like did the rise up thing, and you could see everybody like visibly getting out of their seats like that. That was a very cool moment. But yeah, man, Joe Hendry, he belongs in these spots. And like I said, I'm gonna say it again. If TNA don't belt him up at Bound for Glory, they are fucking delusional. But yeah, Ava did say that if I'm not mistaken, that the winner of this match, it will be defending the championship at the CW show, right? On October 1st.
In Chicago.
So you think we getting Page versus Trick? That's the
Ethan Page defending his NXT title against CM Punk. Yeah. We'll go.
That shit ain't happening.
No, I think we do Trick versus Page in Chicago main event. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that too. You think Trick wins?
Yeah, actually. I don't know. Like Trick, the story would make sense with him coming back, but at the same time, like with Ethan Page as champ, it hasn't been necessarily the most interesting run, but I think it still has legs to go further. Yeah. So I kind of, that's a tough one actually, because like Trick winning it back would be a great first fucking big episode main event moment for him winning it back and everything. Booker will go crazy, you know that. but Ethan is like, So you either have Trick win, or you have Ricky Starks cost him the title and align himself with Ethan Page or something
No,
like that.
that fucking sucks. No,
I don't know,
no.
because like I think we're getting some people showing up at that show.
Oh, you said some people showing up on that show.
Yeah,
but
not necessarily sure what they're gonna do, but they're showing up.
Even on what's it? And then on top of that, you got the POE 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
Halloween Havoc. So
maybe it's tough.
Like,
I
think I would go Ethan retains at the CW show just to throw it in the people's face a little bit.
Yeah, I think his run could be good. I want to give it. I like this match actually. I thought Joe, again, like, I don't want to call him the 15 minutes of fame flash in the pan, because when it comes to the wrestling, like, he put on a pretty good show, and I'm happy that this dude got to main event at WWE PLE. Like, crazy for this dude who got famous because his songs online like really just helped him blow up, and like, all the power to him. And I thought the match was good. It just didn't get to maybe necessarily my favorite on the show, but I still liked it. It had some of the WWE shenanigans with the ref and everything, and it kind of prolongs the story of Ethan and Trick and everything and stuff. So I didn't hate it necessarily, and I didn't mind this whole show actually, like, top to bottom. I think NXT. I'm not sure if I liked it more than Bash in Berlin, but I still think there was some pretty good wrestling between the tag team opener match, or Wes and Wentz, or even Oba and Tony D. I actually don't even know which match I liked the most, but I enjoyed like this show top to bottom. I think maybe the low point was Wendy and Kelani, and even that like didn't like,
it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
I would say probably. Yeah, I think me and you kind of is the same thinking of it. Like, I think it was a solid show, and it had its high points definitely, and the crowd was invested as hell in like a lot of the performers. I would say it's a toss up for me between, like, I really did like the back end of Wes and Zach. Honestly, bro, I think I'm gonna get a nod in terms of my favorite match. I think I'm gonna give it to Roxanne and Jaida.
Wow, nice.
I think I'm gonna give it to them, and it's more so because, like, I think, like, especially we were talking about Wes Lee, like, he's still in that period that Roxanne was once in, and I think Roxanne is like fully found it, like, she's found her spot, like, in this heel role, and then on top of that, seeing Jaida perform, like, and being able to match that on this stage was like, oh, that was a very good performance, like a very good delivery. So I think I'm gonna get a nod to them in terms of my personal favorite match of the night. But in terms of like just crowd reaction and all that, like, I think Joe Hendry had it. Like, he had the people in the palm of his hands throughout the night. So
we got a super chat here from Megan, who says Joe Hendry's been walking between worlds and over as fuck. Yeah,
in
like,
both companies.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, he should be booked as TNA's champion. I'm sure WWE's probably like, I don't want to say contract tampering, but probably like, hey, whenever you're done up there, like, you coming over here. Like,
what's in that? I'm telling y'all this right now. Jordan Grace's contract is up in January 2025. She's gone.
See you later, TNA. Sorry, but like, nah. That's another one. She comes into WWE and TNA. NXT. Again, another
she ain't going to NXT. I think she
should go to main roster. Yeah.
She going to main roster.
Yeah.
But bro, I'm dying laughing. You talking about, so she's gone.
She ain't staying. And I feel like that'll be the case for like anyone who WWE want, they'll get you no matter what. And kind of going back to like the Chicago show and even on top of that, the St. Louis show the week after, like, yeah, I could imagine whether you get more TNA crossover with some of their other stars showing up, or whether you get like Ricky
free agent.
You know, like, we're talking about Axiom and Frazer needing dance partners. Like, imagine Lucha Bros versus Fraxium. That just, like, I wouldn't be able to write notes that fast.
If whenever they do, because I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at some point, and that's why I think it's going to happen on the sea. I'm so glad you said that, because I keep forgetting that they have another arena show that very next week out of Chicago.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the Chicago show.
Yeah.
But like, whenever they do that Wentz and Miguel versus Axiom and Frazer match, if Penta and Phoenix are free by then, like, I don't know, like, their exact nature. I know there's been reports that they're on their way out, and then Penta had tweeted that his home is AEW for now. Like I'm pretty sure that was just him trying to calm stuff down because I know that AEW can tack on months to Phoenix's contract because he was injured. So I'm pretty sure Penta sending out that tweet was like, please don't don't extend my brother's contract because they can legally do that if they want to. But if they are free after that Rascals versus Fraction match, that would be the perfect time. Like similar how they debuted Giulia, like right after the match, have them come out, and I think that'd be a great reaction that Penta and Phoenix would get. I don't know what Ricky Starks' contract situation is. Like there's like various reports about that, and I don't know when his contract ends. But I think Ricky Starks debuting in an arena setting would be perfect. Honestly.
Yeah, it should happen. Like that would be absolutely crazy, and then completely like bring another like layer to NXT with that guy being a big part of it would be crazy. For me personally, seeing Penta in any WWE shape or form is just insane. It's one of my all time. It's crazy.
Hey, Braden, I swear, bro. I used to want. I remember back when it was the Takeover era. I used to want to see a Lucha Brothers part of that so bad. Bro.
Oh yeah,
so bad. And then on top of that, it seems like Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah, where are they?
As well, I think they go to the main roster, bro. Like,
they don't need NXT.
That's something, bro. They like when you put in as much work as they have, bro. Like you don't like. I'm not saying that you everybody needs to do that, but I'm like the Motor City Machine Guns, bro. Like you gonna send them to NXT? Like come on now, like that's
no, they wouldn't do
like
that.
Send them straight to the main and just have them debut like in a big city. Don't fucking have them debut in like fucking Paducah, Kentucky or some shit like that. Wait till you get
Detroit,
like,
actually, right. But they never do that. Every time I go to Detroit for a show, we're like, this could be it, and it's never that. But
Detroit, there you go. That's the perfect one.
Again, I think going forward, we're gonna have an exciting time with NXT, and I didn't dislike this pay-per-view or PLE by any means, but I think this was a weird like holding pattern show. I think Sean is like, I'm not gonna like cook up everything just yet. I need to wait because what's coming is going to be what's going to be even bigger. So if this is just a little bit of a taster of where we're going, again, I think NXT has been riding this consistent wave and getting better and better. And I don't think it's just because we've just like, oh, there's TNA people now. I think it's just a bit of everything. I think it's a bit of a perfect storm. It's like we have TNA wrestlers coming in. We got Vakur, we got Giulia, we got our own talent who have been killing it. We got people in the wings. We're having Jaida and all these stars testing the waters to see like who is exactly up next. So I think we're in a really good fun time because there was times in the last few years where NXT is like it was a rough watch, and I think we're finding a good balance. And the good balance is I like my bell to bell good wrestling, and I like to see improvement in people learning and developmental and all that. And the other balance is I like when my mafioso people are putting people in the trunks and there needs to be a good WWE balance, and I think we're finding that with NXT lately. So I enjoyed this show. So it was.
I was about to say, Braden, you got Cora Jade coming back into the fold.
I don't think I'd be that excited about that, but I guess we'll see. Like I think she could be a good heel or a big good character, but when it comes to the wrestling so far, I've not been too impressed. And what sucks is like I'm saying, like I was joking, like all these football players or shot putters or track stars. We're like, oh, I'm going to be a WWE wrestler. And then in comes Vakur and like Giulia, who are like going to kick their heads off and be like, oh, wait, maybe we need to overthink this. But yeah, good times for NXT. And it was a solid show. We do have just a few pieces of feedback. I'll accept any other super chats before we end the show too. But we have a Facebook group, Poison Rana. You can find us on any socials, but we have a group that you can join. And they usually post up feedback threads. And I'm going to read here. We have two, so I'll read them for us, Andrew. From Manny from Pacoima, who says, shout out to the YIC, Andrew Thompson. They not like him. He continues, a solid show. Wes versus Zach was my match of the night. I'm assuming Wes will probably cost the Rascals their match on Tuesday. Giulia's presence was off the charts. I can see her challenging for the title in Chicago with Stephanie and Delta around the corner and the rumors of Zeta, Steel, and Bozilla may be coming to NXT. This women's division is getting stacked. I don't even think I'm familiar with those two. So
Bozilla is a fucking tank.
Okay.
She was in Marty Gold with Giulia and Zeta Steel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
But wait till you see this woman, bro. She is a fucking tank.
Beast.
Bro.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you, Manny, for writing in. And then our second one, the last one here. Megan, who says, NXT didn't mail it in. I got exactly what I wanted. Strong wrestling. Wes Lee was a heat rock. Hendry Page was the right kind of overbooked. Chase U, Fraxium ruled. Oba Tony was solid. And Kelani Wendy was okay. Jaida Parker got mad, and it's only a matter of time until she becomes a champion. Got made, not mad. Roxanne Perez's second title run has eclipsed her first, and now it's on the verge of putting on an exclamation point. And Giulia is that exclamation point. I'd want those two to hook it up in Chicago. Book that shit. Yeah, I agree, Megan. Thank you.
I agree.
And then someone writes in, Matthew Ederer writes in, Socko is cooking, which I'm not quite sure what that refers to, but maybe he means Shawn Michaels is cooking because that's what NXT is doing right now. But yeah, thank you for writing in, everybody. And thank you, everyone, in the YouTube chat here today as well on the Post Wrestling YouTube. It's been a hell of a time. Again, we usually do this every Tuesday night. This Tuesday we won't, but we will be going live around 2 p.m. on Wednesday to talk all about this week's episode of NXT. And Andrew, of course, thank you for jumping on and joining in today. Every time we link up, we have a pretty good time, and always love chatting wrestling with you and everything. But please let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me on, man. I always enjoy doing these podcasts with you, man. We always have a good time, always have some great funny conversations as well, some good wrestling conversations as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one, and you and I get to do. They can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at @ADThompson__. Check out the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Check out the podcast version of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel over on the Kings of Sport podcast feed with brother Nate Milton. And yeah, you can check out my written work over at the Post Wrestling site, man. We always got some good stuff up there. Myself, Jack, John, and our man Neil Flanagan. So yeah, check everybody's work out. Everybody's doing great work, and yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the next installment, which I'm sure will be this month, of the John Cena podcast.
That's right. Let's go. Yeah. Lots and lots of different podcasts here. I'm loving the Post Wrestling world, and everyone included. Whether it's you, I got to finally meet Jack. Hey. I call him Jack Went On, but I know it's like Wan On or something like that. But Jack Went On is a great name for Jack.
I think it is Wan On. I think the way you said it is how you
even better. Even fucking better. What a gem of a human. So I'll have to get him on a podcast down the line. But I'm loving everyone at Post Wrestling and everyone who supports, obviously, all the listeners out there in the Post Wrestling universe. And if you want to hear more of everything that Davie and I do, you can check out Poisonrana. Search that in your podcast app. Hit that subscribe. Check out all the other shows. We also have a patreon.com/Poisonrana. $5 to become a friend, and you get access to all sorts of different shows. We got movie reviews. We recently did a review of ECW One Night Stand. We're doing so many different shows over there with the different best matches ever. I know we're going to try to do something for Sid Vicious or Psycho Sid down the line. We do a show called Was Next, where we go through the history of NXT, and currently we're on 2014. So we're doing all sorts of different wrestling stuff, and there's all sorts of wrestling. We just did a best match ever Europe part 1 and 2, which was pretty crazy. So lots and lots of podcasts. Go check us out, Poisonrana.ca, for everything. And we can't do it with all the listeners, so thank you.
Would you rather, let me ask the people a question, Braden. Would you rather go subscribe to Poisonrana Patreon for $5, or would you rather get a $5 biggie bag from Burger King or Wendy's? Me personally, choosing Poisonrana podcast. Exactly. You people don't need to eat. You don't need to eat. Okay, you can use your money.
Yeah. Well, that's what you can do with your money. You can buy podcasts with it. You can also go to chop-tees.com and /Poisonrana and buy hats like this and t-shirts and all sorts of fun stuff. So you want to support your favorite podcasters, support your favorite independent content creators, whether it's Andrew, NWA, Post Wrestling, Poisonrana, support your boys. And if you like what you hear, give us a little 5-star review as well. And check out all the other stuff that we do. But thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone out there. Like Vic Joseph says, we were possessed tonight. We were possessed watching No Mercy. So thank you. Take care. Goodbye, and be safe. I forget, how do you say goodbye in Italian? What does it Giulia say? Viva Vici or something like that.